Hi guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about how I passed the Nasm Cpt exam. If you're not interested in that exam, just keep scrolling, but if you are, just keep watching. So, my biggest tip would be if you have studied this material and you know what you're talking about, do not freak out about this exam because it's really not as hard as you would think, or people make it seem. So if you know the material, you'll be fine. If you did good on the practice exams, you'll be fine. My biggest, I guess, suggestion is not go over, but think of different ways. Like when you're taking your practice exams, think of different ways that they can ask those questions, because that's exactly what they'll do on the exam. So for example, there were a lot of overactive and underactive muscle questions, and they found 4 or 5 different ways to ask those questions. So just being familiar with overactive muscles, tight muscles, weak muscles, underactive, like that kind of stuff, would be really helpful. Okay, so the bulk of your exam is going to be chapters 6, 7, 14, 19, and 20. Well, for me it was. That's also something else I guess I should say. Everyone's exam is going to be different. So these videos, take them with a grain of salt because your exam might not be like that. Like when I was preparing for this exam, someone wrote in one of the comment sections on a video that I was watching that her exam, half of it was the questions from the practice exams, and like the other half was just overactive and underactive muscles. And that was not my situation. So take these suggestions with a grain of salt, but know that what people are saying is pretty much how your exam's gonna go, but there will be different variations. So just be prepared and you'll be fine. So my exam, I had a couple questions on the heart. Just know information about oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. What was the other one? Capillaries. That was another one. No information about that, but there was only 2 questions on that. So if you're not good with the heart, like don't worry about it. All the other exams that I've seen, they've all said that, like, don't worry about the heart, but there are questions on it. The bulk of your exam, which I've kind of gathered it's probably going to be everyone's exam, but I do know obviously everyone's exam is going to be different in certain ways. The bulk of your exam will be overactive and underactive muscles. Know those, but also, okay, are you kidding? What are you eating? That. Is anyone else's dog, if you try to get something out of their mouth, chew harder when you stick your hand in their mouth? Because that's what he just did. So the bulk of your exam will be overactive and underactive muscles, but again, they will ask you which one of these muscles should I stretch when your client exhibits a excessive forward lean, or something like that. It's just they're different variations of asking the same question, so make sure that you're aware of all the different ways that they could ask those questions. Okay, so I feel like I should kind of explain this. I felt like the video was all over the place, so I ended up just grabbing my book from the bookshelf and walking you guys through chapter 6, 7, 14, 19, and 20 page by page. So that's where the rest of this video is going. I really hope this helps. Feel free to DM me any questions if you guys have any, or if you want me to make a second video, I totally will. But just let me know. I love teaching, so or helping, so if you guys want me to make another one, I'm totally cool with that, but just let me know. Chapter 6 was all your fitness assessments, so know your overactive and underactive muscles for the syndromes, know your single leg squat assessment, know your overhead squat assessment, sorry, I'm flipping through the book. Know the common distortion patterns. Know all of your cardiorespiratory assessments, but know your heart rate zones. Know within that zone where you would put a client. So zone 1, is it very poor, excellent, good, you know, stuff like that. That's on page 131 if you have the 6th edition. Know that. Know what BMI is. They do ask you just like a basic, like, what is it? What does it represent? What does it test? Know girth measurement. Know the, what was it? Know the foresight upper body measurement, probably. Know the 4 sides of the skin fold measurement. Know those, because they will ask you. They won't ask you like how to do it or like what position you should have the fold, but they will ask you like what are those 4 sides. Know blood pressure, how to find maximal heart or estimated maximal heart rate. Know how to find that. Where do we take pulse, or where's the one that personal trainers use? They do ask you like what the PAR-Q is, but they just literally ask you what it is, and that's all you have to know. They do ask a couple questions on medications. I think I had like 1 or 2. So go over those, but don't take too much time studying that, like in a sense of like what it does to heart rate and blood pressure, but don't like freak out if you don't know those. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it for that one. Oh, they do ask what is objective and subjective information. Yeah, so know that. I think that's it for chapter 6. Let's see. So the performance assessments, know how to perform those. Questions I had with those were just like, how do you perform them? How do you, the movement. Okay, so like read the movement section on each of these. That's what they ask for those. Know the deductions for the shark skill test. Know those. Know the purpose of each of those tests, like upper body agility, lower body strength, you know, stuff like that. And that's really it for chapter 6. Chapter 7. Chapter 7. What was chapter 7? Oh, chapter 7 was all the flexibility. They will ask you a couple questions, not as many as I thought. So page 173 with corrective, active, and functional flexibility will be good to know. The cumulative injury cycle, they do ask you they asked me a question on it. I don't know if they'll ask you a question. My candle just bubbled. That was the weirdest thing. They do ask you about neuromuscular efficiency, so muscle spindles, Golgi tendon organs, all that stuff. They do ask you about page 167 with altered reciprocal inhibition, synergistic dominance, arthrokinetic dysfunction. They do ask you that. That's synergistic dominance. That was a big thing, synergistic dominance. So the table on page 176, table 7.2, know that was a big part of the exam. Knowing when to use corrective flexibility, like what phases of the OPT model, and which inhibition it matched with, or things like that. Know that. So know that table 7.2. That's a good table. You'll want to know that. Get familiar with the movements, though, like how they have at the end of each chapter, like they show you how to perform the movements that they talked about in the chapter. Know those, because I did have quite a few questions on if your person is, like, they explain the movement and then they say what movement is this essentially, so know that. 6, 7, that's it for chapter 7. Chapter 14 is all the acute variables. I really didn't have very many questions on those. I had maybe 5 questions on those. The table that I suggest that you use would be table 14.1 on page 360. Memorize that table, because that's the only question that it really had about the program design continuum and like the acute variables. That was really the only question. But also I would say that in your answer choices, they won't give you, so like for example, muscular endurance and stabilization is 12 to 20 reps. They're not going to give you that exact range, but you'll know that that's the range because they'll give you other ones that are just like nowhere near that. So be wary of that. I don't know why they do that, but they do. So that was acute variables. 19. Let's see. 17, nutrition. They asked about protein. They asked about water, like water intake before and after exercise. They ask you about chapter 20, the 4 P's of marketing. They asked me like 1 question on that. It wasn't too intense in that chapter. The 10 steps to success, they asked me a couple questions on that one. Oh, they do ask certain types of support. So know that. I had like 5 or 6 questions on the different types of support. So pages 536 to 537 would be good to know. They do ask about, so the section on the importance of effective communication skills, it's like page 532 to 535, know that. They asked me quite, I thought I wasn't filming, oh my god, I would've been so mad. They asked me quite a few questions on that. They don't ask anything about the psychological benefits of exercise, so don't worry about that. But yeah, that's it, really. But just know that everyone's test is gonna be different, so these videos that you watch, don't expect it to be like that. Don't expect it to be like your practice exams, because from my experience, it just wasn't like that. But don't freak out if you know, oh my, what happened? Oh, the cat moved my camera. But if you know the material, don't freak out. You'll be fine. You have 2 hours to answer all those questions, so you'll be good. I do have a playlist that I made that's private, but I can make it public if you guys want. If that's something you're interested in, just comment down below, and I will make it public, but I just didn't because I didn't know how helpful it would really be. Yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got. The dog's freaking out, so I'm gonna go. If you are taking this exam soon, good luck. Feel free to DM me if you have any questions, but don't freak out. And I will see you guys on, what's today? Wednesday? I will see you guys on Monday.